Okay, so you likely saw in the emails that this session will just be a fun quiz. So far, the first two sessions, we talked about your personal monopoly, building your home in the first session, and the second one, we talked about distribution SEO. I left monetization and the bonus sections for you to review on your own. And so this week is just purely a quiz. So this was a reminder of where you can find the resource directory, which, by the way, this quiz will also be uploaded to. And then what we'll do today is just go through this quiz. So I'm going to exit out of these slides and actually I'm going to open up, oops, not this quiz. Where do I have it? It's in Slides with Friends over here. So this is a tool, a fun little tool to actually help conduct the quiz. So actually I need to start this event here. So what I want you guys all to do if you're on this call, basically you're going to take either your phone or, so if you're using your phone, you're going to scan this QR code. If you are on desktop and you'd prefer to go with that, you go to this link. So slides with, and I'll post this in the chat, slideswith.com/echo. And you should see, as Daniel has already done, when you do that, then you should see like a thing pop up and you can choose your character and your name. And so I'm just gonna, for anyone, slideswith.com/echo for people who want to use desktop. So we'll just wait a minute or two just in case anyone else is joining the Zoom call, and also so that we want to make sure that everyone on this call properly joins. I saw at least one person just join in, and so we're just getting the quiz up and running. So you want to either go to slideswith.com/echo, that URL, or you can scan this QR code with your phone, and you should be able to click a little emoji and then also add your name, and then we'll get started in a minute or so. So there's around 12 people at least on this call, and so with excluding me, there should be a couple more people on here. So if anyone is having trouble joining, feel free to let me know in the chat. We can try to troubleshoot before we get started. And I saw at least one person just join this call. And so if you did, make sure to go to slideswith.com/echo. That's the URL, or scan this QR code, and that should be able to get you into the quiz. And then you can, of course, just watch as we go through the quiz. But this will be the only way that you can actually track your results, or we can track your results. And then, as I actually haven't mentioned on this call, but I mentioned it in the email, anyone who joins this session today and participates in this will have, well, the winner, whoever gets the most, will get $100. So if you are that person, I'll follow up with you after, but you have to participate with this Slides with Friends, because if not, I have no idea how you actually did. So looks like we've got 9 people. I'll just wait 30 more seconds. If anyone is rushing and they can't get in time, please feel free to post in the chat so we make sure to wait for you. If not, I'm going to assume that people who want to participate are participating. All right, so it seems like most people are, because no one has mentioned the chat. Let me just reshare my screen real quick, just because if I share it again, I want to also share my computer sound, because actually making me enter my password for my computer. You guys can still hear me, right? I'm having a couple audio issues, or at least on my screen. Oh, okay. So I'm not sure what happened there, but what I was saying is on your screen, in the bottom corner, I think there's like a little emoji symbol, and you can click that, and you can click some emojis, and they should pop up on the screen here. But that's just a fun little feature of Slides with Friends. Either way, what we'll do is we'll jump in. So to start, just for fun, I always like to include this at the beginning. How is everyone feeling today? And this is also just a nice little way to make sure that the tech is working properly. So again, on your screen, desktop or mobile, you should be able to click one of these numbers. And you can also see once, this is helpful for me to see once everyone's actually answered. So I'm gonna wait just for this first one to make sure everyone answers so they know how this works. So we have one person left. And then from there forward, what we can do is we can see, okay, the average response is 8. Wonderful. Seems like people are in a pretty good mood today. And you can see the distribution here. All right, so let's get started. Let's get to the fun stuff. These will be segmented by chapters, but we're going to go through all of them in a row and then go through the answers and the results at the very end. So we're going to go through these pretty quickly because there's 45 questions. So the first question is, 367 approximately domain names were registered in ... And again, you want to choose what you think the right answer is here. So the past decade, the last 5 years, 2020, or Q1 of 2020. And again, I think I've allocated around 45 seconds, but because we have 45 questions, I'm hoping we can go through these even quicker. So get your answers in as quickly as possible, but I don't want to cut anyone off as they're thinking. All right, everyone's in, so we're going to move on. All right, number 2, with respect to content, how should we interpret saturation, at least according to doing content right? So how should we interpret saturation? Is it A, the presence of existing number of players, the existing size of those players, the likelihood that you can out-innovate existing players, or the lack of existing players? So feel free to add your responses in here. Hopefully you can see the timer on your screen as well. There's around 8 more seconds, so make sure to get your answer in. And all right, looks like we're moving on to number 3. Okay, the internet has reshaped which quote unquote content mechanics? So A, the ability to put content online, B, the ability to distribute to larger audiences, C, the ability to distribute to more niche audiences, or D, all of the above. All right, we've got 15 more seconds. If you haven't entered your answers, please do so. Now, I saw a couple people join. I'm not sure, candidly, if people can join halfway through, but if you want to give it a shot, you can go to slideswith.com/echo. I just sent that in the chat, and that may allow you to join where we are partway through. If not, you can kind of just watch and you'll get to kind of guess on your own. You can even keep track of your results. So number 4, what products succeed today? Is it A, products that have no competition, B, products that are good at everything or pretty good at everything, C, products that are the best at one thing that people care about, or D, products that have been around the longest? All right, 3 more seconds and we'll move on. Okay, question number 5. So this is 45, so let's try to get through these pretty quickly so we get to the results as well. So number 5, you want to find a niche, but niche can be viewed in a couple different ways. When we're talking about niche, you are looking to identify your niche topic, your niche positioning, your niche industry, or your niche audience. It did look like someone was able to join. So if anyone new is trying to join it, it looks like that is possible at that link. All right, get your answers in. We've got 5 more seconds. And I should say there is no, you don't get points taken away for guessing wrong. So feel free to guess on every single one. People tend to focus too much on their blank instead of their blank. So I know this sounds a little vague, but people focus too much on their, for example, their when instead of focusing on their what. Or rather, they focus too much on their what instead of their how. They focus too much on their who instead of their what instead of their who instead of their when. I know that sounds a little confusing, but take a couple seconds to digest that. So people focus too much on X instead of focusing on Y. Okie dokes. Next question. With content, many people worry about market risk, aka whether there are people that care about your product, or you could say for content, care about your topic. But people often forget about what other risk when it comes to content. Is it channel risk, financial risk, competitive risk, or founder risk? All right, 9 more seconds, get your answers in. And if any of you, I can see a couple of you not answering quite a few of them. If you're having any troubles, let me know in the chat. But if not, we're moving on to chapter 2. So all of those questions were related to chapter 1. This is chapter 2. So this is all about building your home. So to set up your home, this is your digital home, you'll need a domain, hosting, a blogging platform, an email service provider, and some form of analytics. Which one of these is the hardest to migrate to and from later? So which one should you really maybe get right the first time versus some others that you have more flexibility? And I'll just read them out again: your domain, your hosting, your blogging platform, your ESP, or your modal software. I actually don't even know if I had modal software in the last page, but the point is there are many pieces, many tools to distributing or creating content online. Which one is maybe the hardest to get, hardest to migrate from once you're on it? All right, next question. All right, readers tend to be more blank with paid content, but are rarely that same thing with free content. All right, so they are rarely X with free content, or sorry, readers tend to be more X. Yeah, so they're rarely this with free content, but they tend to be this with paid content. So is it monogamous, engaged, critical, or satisfied? So again, they tend to be this with paid content. They tend not to really be this with free content. All right, 5 seconds. We'll move on to question number 10. All right, so we're around a quarter through. Which one of these is typically not a reason that someone buys a paid content subscription? So is it A, they want to win back their time? B, they don't have enough content? C, they want higher quality information? D, they want to fund a specific type of journalism? Or E, they want to support a specific creator? So which of these is not typically a reason? So all of these are different reasons that people will pay for content outside of the norm, which again, most people are used to free content. So these are reasons that they go outside of that norm. Which one of these is not actually one of those reasons? You got around 10 seconds for this. And I saw at least one more person join. If you have joined, you've missed around a quarter of this session so far. You can still join at the URL that I just sent in the chat. You'll just join us at where you are. So you'll want to enter that URL in either your phone or your browser. So question 11, if you gate your content, what is the most important thing that you should consider? So A, how much you are planning to charge, B, how consistently you will publish, C, what your distribution vectors are, or D, your customer LTV. Which one of these is most important when you're actually considering gating your content? All right, moving on. And I see at least one other person joined as well. So if you're joining in late, go to the link that I just sent, and sorry to have to keep pausing on this for people in the chat currently or in the call. Go to slideswith.com/echo and you should be able to join us. You will have to join us at the question that we're at. Or if you want, like I see Manny's doing, feel free to just send your answers in the chat. Who knows if they're correct? We'll find out later. Okay, so question number 12. When people convert their free newsletters to paid, what is the typical conversion rate? At least cited in doing content right. This may have changed over time, but when I did this research before, what is the typical, you have a free subscription and then you change it to fully paid. How many of those people switch over? Is it less than 1%? Is it 1 to 3%? Is it 3 to 10%? Or is it greater than 10% of those people who were previously getting something free who are now willing to pay for it? We've got around 5 more seconds. Let's get your answers in. Okay. So now that was a quick chapter because that was one of the more brief chapters. We're moving on to distribution. So question 13, good distribution is ... And again, some of this mostly relates to the doing content right content. So if you're unsure, try to lean back into maybe what you read there. But good distribution is A, additive, B, a multiplier, C, optional, or D, easy. Looks like most people got this in, so I'll just give this around 3 more seconds if you want to get your answer in. If not, I'm going to move on to the next question. All right, let's move on. Question 14, when you're just starting out, your job is to do things that don't blank. This one should be a pretty easy one. So your job is to do things that don't cost very much, require much bandwidth, scale, or have much competition. Your job in the early stages is to do things that don't blank. And I saw another person join. So again, I'm just going to send this to the chat. You can go to slideswith.com/echo. And I think you will be able to join us. I'm not positive. You can see this up in the upper left-hand corner. And so if you go there, you should be able to choose a character and join us. If it doesn't work, let me know. You're also free to just watch as we go through this and share your answers in the chat if you'd like. Okay, so I shared something called the codes framework in the distribution chapter. What does the D in codes stand for? Does it stand for dependability, distribution, drive, determination, or none of the above? All right, we've got around 10 more seconds. I do think it seems like people were able to join, so that's awesome. So if you are on this call and you're not currently participating in the quiz, feel free to go to that link. If not, feel free to just watch and learn. All right, question 16. Which part of codes, so it's the same codes framework that should be capitalized, do people focus on too much? So this is the codes framework, so gives you the answer to the previous question, but which one of these do people, in my opinion, do they focus on too much? Is it they focus too much on having low cost, too much ownership, too much dependability, something that's low effort, or something that's highly scalable? Which one of these, in the best case scenario, are people focusing on too much? And 5 more seconds, so get your votes in. And I mentioned this before, but I know some people have joined. There is no deduction for a wrong answer. Each one of these is worth 1 point, so feel free to guess on everyone. Number 17, what is typically the most underutilized channel type for creators? So you'll see types here. So we've got bedrock, viral, social, syndicate, targeted, and paid. Which one of them is, in my opinion, the most underutilized? The one that a lot of creators skip over, but that they could get a lot of value from. All right, 3 more seconds. Awesome. Question number 18, why is it important to have a modal in the first place? So if you remember, modal is something that pops up on your screen due to a specific action, like someone leaving the page or spending a certain amount of time on the page. So why is that important? Is it A, people will take action when you ask? B, you can convert external traffic into owned traffic? C, because everyone is doing it? D, is it A and B, or is it E, which is all of the above? And we've got around 5 more seconds again. All right, let's move on to question 19. So still got quite a few to go. When you're optimizing your conversion modals, which one of these is not a key suggestion? Which one of these is not something generally that is super, super important? So is it to align the copy to match the value that you're providing? Is it to remove distractions? Is it to calm concerns, use brand colors, or use social proof? So I would actually say that all of these are relatively important, but which one of these would you say is maybe not essential, or not at least within the doing content right instruction? And Maria in the chat says pop-ups, hate them with a passion. It is true that they are not clearly the best user experience, but per some of the answers on the previous slide, there is a reason that people use them. And we'll get to all the answers. We'll breeze through the answers once we've gone through all these. So question 20, which channel is quote unquote a no-brainer, in particular because it tends to drive high value subscribers? So these are different, instead of channel types, these are actually specific channels that you can use to attract people. So giveaways, social media, referral programs, Google Discover, paid ads, influencers, and Hacker News. Which one of these stands out as something that is a no-brainer for most newsletters or publications to utilize because of the way that it drives these high value subscribers? All right, 4 more seconds. Okay, question 21. What are the second and third largest search engines? This may differ depending on how you view a search engine, but hopefully you will get the right answer here. Is it A, TikTok and Pinterest, B, Facebook and Pinterest, C, Facebook and Twitter, D, YouTube and Pinterest, or E, YouTube and Bing? And I think at the end of the day, even if you view a search engine differently, like there's one correct answer here. The other ones couldn't be correct. Okay, 7 more seconds. See at least a few people. Got to get your answers in. All right. Question 22. What is the key reason that you shouldn't use Medium as your primary platform for publication? I think this is actually even more true today than when I originally created this book. All right, so is it A, because Medium gates the articles? Is it because Medium no longer has any scale? C, because you don't control your following? D, because most big publications have moved off of Medium? Or E, because Medium makes money off of your content? Now, a lot of these are true, but which one is the major reason that you wouldn't want to use Medium specifically as your initial point of publication? All right. Oops. I didn't mean to click that, but hopefully everyone had their answers in. I think most people did. Question 23. What is not true about publishing on Reddit? A, Reddit is massive. B, Reddit's audience is super critical. C, Reddit is only for technical topics. D, Redditors prefer to stay on the platform. E, Reddit is still a community. F, Reddit allows you to get specific. So which one of these is not true? A lot of these are true, at least to an extent, but one of these is not really very true. Right, 5 more seconds. Okay, next question. All right, we're in the SEO chapter. This one's going to be quite a few questions, but we're going to go through them a lot more quickly because some of them are quite similar. So number 24, what two aspects of codes, if you remember, we talked about codes, explain why SEO can be so impactful? So which two of these are the reason that SEO is such a strong channel for people to tackle? Is it ownership and cost, dependability and cost, effort and scalability, ownership and scalability, or dependability and scalability? And I just noticed 2 more people joined us. So if you did join us, feel free to go to slideswith.com/echo. You can see it on this top left corner. You should be able to join us there. You will join halfway, but that's okay. Question 25, what is not one of the 3 keys to the Google algorithm? So if you remember, I talked about 3 things that really all of the ranking factors ladder up to. Which one of these is not one of those things? So is it relevancy, length, credibility, or usability? This one, hopefully, if you've been to any of the previous sessions or read the book, is one of the giveaways. All right, most people have already entered their answer, so I'll give 5 more seconds and then we'll jump to the next question. All right, let's move on. Question 26. what is Google targeting with the following ranking factors? So we're going to go through a series of questions with this same structure. So for this one, the ranking factor that we're talking about is keyword use in the URL. Why would Google care that you have keyword use in the URL? Is it because it signals credibility, relevancy, usability, or none of the above? All right, we'll do 5 more seconds on this slide. Get your answers in. Okay, great. So the next one is same question. What is Google looking for, or why does Google care about load speed? What does it signal? The speed that a page loads, does that signal credibility, relevancy, usability, or none of the above? And since these ones are relatively quick, we'll do another 5 seconds and then we'll move on. All right, perfect. So same question, but for the age of a website, why would Google care about the age of a website? What is that signaling? The credibility of the site, the relevancy of the site, the usability of the site, or none of the above? And again, this is a quick one, so we'll just do 5 more seconds. Okay, perfect. So another one, what is Google looking for, or why does Google care if a site has SSL, right? So this site, for example, has SSL. It's clearly signaling that it's secure to a user. So what does that really translate to? Is it credibility, relevancy, usability, or none of the above? We'll do another 5 seconds here, so get your votes in. We have a couple people still pending. All right, next question, time on site. What is Google targeting with the following ranking factor? Time on site. Is it credibility, relevancy, usability, or none of the above? We'll do 5 more seconds here as well. Let's get your answers in. And we're almost through, I think, 2/3 of the quiz or so. So moving on, which part of crew, so we've talked about credibility, relevancy, usability, which part matters the most? Is it credibility, relevancy, usability, or D, does it depend on the query? All right, looks like the core 9 of you that are answering are in, so I'm going to move on and ask number 32, which is not a type of search intent. So remember, search intent is very, very important in being able to rank if you're targeting the right type. So which one of these is actually not a type of search intent? Is it informational, navigational, instructional, transactional, commercial, or ambiguous? One of these is not a type of search intent. Which one is it? All right, looks like we've got the core 9 through. All right, so I'm going to keep moving. Number 33, what does an ambiguous query mean? Okay, so does it mean that the searcher doesn't know what they're looking for? B is that the search engine cannot reliably determine the person's intent. C means the search engine does not understand the query that's being sent. D, the searcher has multiple intentions with their query. Or E, none of the above. This one's a little harder, so we'll give you the full 20 seconds to read over these. as a reminder, we're looking for what is true here. What does an ambiguous query mean? There's 7 more seconds. All right. All right, 34. Which of these is a good indicator that a query is informational? So didn't go over this explicitly, but we know that we are looking for informational queries. Which one of these is a good signal? So in Google, there's all types of rich text or rich results that will be given. These are some examples of them: job postings, product reviews, people also ask section, AdWords placements, or none of the above. So which one of these is actually a good signal? Not always, but tends to be a good signal that the query at hand is informational in nature. Five more seconds. All right. 35. Why are niche keywords often better than broad keywords? There was less competition. It's easier to get the intent right. Ranking click-through rate, the click-through rate changes, I'm struggling to say this. I'm a little sick if you can't tell from my voice. Basically, the ranking click-through rate diminishes exponentially as you go down a SERP. D, is it A and B, or is it E, all of the above? There's around 10 more seconds, so get your answers in. We've got the core 9, so I'm going to move on. Number 36, what percentage of organic clicks does page 2 get? So this actually speaks to that diminishing return that I actually talked about on the last slide. So page 2, what percent of all clicks, and note just briefly, I said organic clicks here. So of all organic clicks, excluding AdWords, does page 2 get over 20% of those clicks, 10 to 20%, 5 to 10%, 1 to 5%, or less than 1% of the organic clicks that happen for a given query on average? We'll do 5 more seconds on this one because I realize we're 40 minutes past, so I just want to make sure we get through everything, which I think we will. All right, 37. Which of these scenarios are you least likely to rank your article on? So of course the algorithm is complex, but which of these are you least likely from what we've learned so far? Is it a low competition transactional query, a high competition informational query, a medium competition informational query, or all of the above are possible with a high enough DA? And I'll just go back to the question. I don't want to call something out because it might give the answer away, but I'll just read it again. Which of these scenarios are you the least likely to rank your article on? I'm really excited to see the results because out of 45 questions, I had no idea if all of these were way too easy or if they were too hard. So we'll see. If someone gets 45 out of 45, I'll know that it was too easy. All right, we've got the core 9 through, so we're moving on. Question 38, what is not true about domain authority? Domain authority ... represents the age of a site, is based upon the number of backlinks to a site, is logarithmic in nature, I guess you could say, or can determine your likelihood of ranking an article. So remember, what is not true? One of these is not true or not fully true. We'll do another 5 seconds on this one. Okay. 39, when you're building links, you want to focus on ... any links that you can get, no follow links, or none of the above. This one hopefully is one of the giveaways, so don't think too hard about it. Again, just a reminder, when you're building links, what do you want to focus on? This is something that you do want to focus on. And there's one correct answer here. All right. Question 40. What does a no follow attribute signal to Google? So when sites add no follow attributes to their links, what is it really telling Google? That the URL does not work, that the site is not lending their credibility to yours, that your article is low quality, as in the article being linked out to, that Google should downgrade your DA, or none of the above. We'll do another 5 seconds, or actually it looks like someone just came through, so we're gonna move on. So the final chapter is monetization. And there's only, as you can see, 4 or 5 questions here. So one of the frameworks that we haven't talked about live because it's in the book and we skip monetization is the SWOT framework in that monetization section. So what does the A stand for in that SWOT framework? Is it audience, applicability, Amazon, affiliates, or none of the above? All right, we'll do 5 more seconds. Looks like everyone's in. All right, 42. If you're setting up a newsletter, or if you're setting up newsletter sponsorships, using blank is best for advertisers, but using blank is easiest if you're a new newsletter. So the first one is best for advertisers. The second one is best for the person selling the advertisement. So I'll just remind you guys, there's 3 different types. So there's cost per open, cost per send, cost per click. And some of them are better for the advertiser. Some of them are better for the advertisee, I guess you could say. So as a reminder, I'm just going to go back. The first blank is best for the advertiser. The second blank is best if you are the one selling that advertisement. So I'm not going to read all these out, but you can see the variations here. We'll do another 10 seconds here, and I'll give a little hint, which is just think about which one of these gets closest to an advertiser actually reaching their goals versus which one of these makes it easiest for a newsletter to get paid without reaching specific goals. We've got 3 more seconds. All right. Oops. Next question is 43. If you're unsure of how much to charge as a newsletter, you can start with the X cent rule and adjust as you go, meaning you charge advertisers X cents per subscriber per send. What is X in this case? What is the X cent rule? Is it the 1 cent rule, the 5 cent rule, the 10 cent rule, or the 20 cent rule? And by the way, you can kind of adjust this to CPMs, right? If you multiply this by 1,000, 1 cent would end up being a $10 CPM. 5 cents would end up being a $50 CPM. 10 would end up being a $100 CPM. 20 would be a $200 CPM. So that might give you a hint as to what the recommendation is to start. We've got 10 more seconds. All right, we've got the core 9 in. We're going to move forward. 44, if you want to increase the money that you're making through your sponsorships, you can increase your audience size. You can increase your audience value, or perhaps like the type of audience that you have. Adjust the number of placements that you're running in your newsletter. You can find more relevant sponsors. Or is it A, B, and C, or all of the above? So which one of these or several of these is potentially true. If you want to increase the money that you're making off of your newsletter, which of these different levers or levers would you pull? Or can you pull, I'd say. All right, moving on. I think this is the last question, as in this one, number 45. What is typically the biggest driver of price point for information products? Is it the perceived value of those products, the market saturation of those products, the size of your particular following, whoever's selling those products, or the quality of the product? Which of these is the largest, I'd say, macro driver in determining the price of a particular product, information product in this case? All right, we have everyone in. So that is the end of the quiz. And now what we'll quickly do, really quickly, if this works properly, is we'll go through the answers. And I'm not going to speak to these in depth because basically what I'll do is I will send over, you can see here, a document that goes over the answers so that you can review them. And next to the answers, there will be kind of like a segment that explains them. But I'll try to quickly go through some of these here. Okay. Number of domains that were registered. The answer was Q1 2020. That shows how many domains are being registered at a given time. It's a lot, is the idea. With respect to content, saturation is the likelihood that you can out-innovate existing players. It's not the number of players in that space. The internet has reshaped content mechanics, and the answer was all of the above. So that included things like we now can reach larger audiences, we now can reach more niche audiences, there's more content than ever. I can't remember all of the things there, but it was all of the above in that case. What products succeed today? It's products that are the best at one thing that people care about, right? So it's not, again, it's not about having no competition or anything like that. So you want to find a niche, and in this case, your niche is your niche positioning, right? So that brings us back to this idea of a differentiator. Your niche can be a small niche audience, but it doesn't have to be. We've talked about several examples like Costco, where their niche positioning was what drove them their success, not the fact that they were targeting a niche audience, right? A small audience in that case. People tend to focus too much on their what, so as in what they're writing about. So they'll say, I'm writing a newsletter about tech. Instead, they should focus on how they're different, right? How they're actually accomplishing writing about that thing or speaking about that thing if it's a podcast, or creating videos about that thing. How is it different? How are they accomplishing that? How are they attracting people? Okay, question 7. So the risk that a lot of people miss, a lot of people think about market risk and they think too much about that. As we've talked about, they think too much about, are there enough people in this audience? Are there competitors in this space? But really, one of the things they often don't ask themselves is, how am I even going to reach people in that space? Is there a channel that I can access that I think I can do well in order to reach these people? So they forget about this channel risk. Okay, so to set up your home, the thing that's hardest to migrate away from is the blogging platform. Many of these other things are quite easy to switch from, so you don't need to obsess over choosing the perfect email service provider to start. Number 9, readers tend to be more monogamous with their paid content, but as we've talked about throughout the course, they are rarely monogamous with their free content, but that's something to keep in mind if you're going into that paid relationship. Okay, question 10. Which one of these is typically not a reason that someone buys paid content subscription? We've talked about this before, but there's so much content online, so that is not a reason that someone's going to buy your subscription, to get more content, to get endless content. What they want is really great content to support you as a creator, to potentially support some sort of a specific type of journalism, so it's not that they don't have enough content. 11, if you get your content, the biggest thing you should consider is whether you can still distribute effectively, so what your distribution vectors are. Number 12, when people convert their free to paid newsletters, what I've seen in the past is 3 to 10%. I will say the 10% is the very high end of what I've seen. It tends to be in those lower digits. Good distribution is a multiplier. If you remember, one of the other answers here is additive. The reason it's not additive is because if you have terrible content, let's say your content is worth 0, if you apply a multiplier, which is what distribution is, you'll still get 0, right? If you have incredible distribution for a shitty product or a shitty article, you're still going to be at 0. That's why distribution is a very effective multiplier, but it's not additive. If it was additive, you could basically have content that's worth 0 and 100 from your multiplier, or from that addition, and that's not the way it works. good content and good distribution are multiplicative. All right, number 14, when you're just starting out your job, is to do things that don't scale. That one was a little bit of a giveaway. What does the D in code stand for? Dependability. How dependable is your traffic from a particular channel? Which part of codes do people focus too much on? In my opinion, it's effort, and we've talked about this last week. People often go towards the easiest channels to start out with, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but you want to make sure that you're balancing your effort with other things like scalability or dependability, which relates to what I think is the most underutilized channel, which is Bedrock, which is things like SEO, things like YouTube, things like Quora. Why is it important to have a modal in the first place? So I can't remember the exact answers here, but I think the two were that if you don't ask, you'll never receive, and that when you're getting a bunch of traffic in from your various distribution channels, you need to convert some of that traffic into owned traffic. And so those were the first two, was A and B. And C was because everyone's doing it, you should never do something just because everyone's doing it. 19, you're optimizing your conversion modals. What's one thing that's not really a key suggestion? Using brand colors. In fact, sometimes you want to veer outside of using your brand colors to make sure that your CTAs really pop. 20, which channel is a no-brainer? The answer was referral programs. Referral programs are amazing because you're basically utilizing people that you know are high-value subscribers and that are engaged to drive more high-value subscribers just like them. The second and third largest search engines are YouTube and Pinterest. Again, this may differ depending on how you view search engine or exactly what source you're going from, but this is just a reminder that these are two channels that are very often underutilized. 22, the key reason you shouldn't use Medium as your primary platform. So again, the first platform for publication is that you don't control your following. This isn't a shot only against Medium, but any platform where you don't own your content, that should not be your primary platform. What is not true about publishing on Reddit is that Reddit is only for technical topics. That's not true. Reddit has tons of subreddits that are way outside of the realm of purely technical. And there's a resource that I've talked about before called Subreddit Stats, and also the subreddit map on Vaca that helps you browse those. 24, the two aspects of codes that SEO really has a high impact in, which is dependability and scalability. That's what makes it so impactful, is that it's dependable and highly, highly scalable, the largest search engine in the world. 25, what is not one of the three keys to the Google algorithm that I talked about? So CREW is the answer, right? Credibility, relevancy, usability. In this case, length is not something, and often people focus too much on that. They think they must write a very long article to rank on Google. It's not true. 26, Google targeting. What are they targeting with keyword use in the URL? Relevancy, that one's pretty straightforward. They want to make sure it matches the query at hand. Load speed relates to usability. Can someone actually use this page? Again, pretty straightforward. The age of a website, they're targeting how credible is this thing? Now, age isn't the only part of credibility, but it does help signal to Google. If this thing has been around for a long time and people have gone to it and people link to it over time, then it's probably more credible than something that's just born. SSL, credibility, again, is this site trustworthy? Is it credible? If it has SSL, it's more likely to be. This one was actually, there was two right answers. So if you guessed either of these, you got the point. When Google is targeting time on site, it's actually both relevancy and usability. It's relevancy because if the particular page is not actually aligned to the query at hand, people will bounce, right? So that time on site would be reduced. But then also if that site is not usable, right? If there's ads everywhere or something's causing them to bounce, they will also bounce quickly and their time on site will be low. So the most important things actually when it comes to the ranking factors at the end of the day is whether your site actually plays into user engagement metrics, because at the end of the day, if they don't play into that and someone's bouncing, then Google's going to deprioritize your site. Now the answer to this, what matters the most? There's no single ranking factor that matters the most. They are all important, and it definitely depends on the query, because in the book I talk about how certain queries, in particular things like medical queries, credibility matters way more than the other two. But then there are other queries where that's not so much the case, and so it really does depend on the query or the type of query at hand. But the takeaway should be that if you're investing in SEO, you need to really be good, solid at all three of these. You don't need to be amazing, but you need to be good at all three of those things. What is not a type of search intent, it's instructional. The one we're looking for is informational, so it might sound similar. What does an ambiguous query mean? It means a search engine cannot reliably determine the person's intent. It does not mean that the person, each individual person knows what they're looking for. The search engine knows that there's some amalgamation of people looking for different things, and so they can't reliably determine any single person's given intent, which is why they'll put many types of results on those ambiguous query pages. A good indicator that a query is informational is those people also ask section, because again, those are additional questions people are asking. Niche keywords are often better than broad keywords. In this case, it was all of the above. So there were several reasons there, like the logarithmic nature or the exponential decline across a SERP, that you can determine intent better, that it's lower competition. So all of those are true. What percentage of organic clicks does page 2 get? It's between 1 to 5%. And again, this will depend on what source you're looking at. And again, if it's only organic queries or also including, or sorry, clicks, or if it's also including AdWords clicks, but generally it's around 1 to 5%. So that's very little, right? Because that's the whole page 2 with the results 11 to 20, and we're at that 1 to 5% mark. So the first 5 results get the lion's share. Which of these scenarios are you least likely to rank your article on? It is the low competition transactional query. This was hopefully something that some of you got right, which is that at the end of the day, intent matters so much that you are more likely to rank on a high competition informational query than something that is not informational, even if it's low competition in theory. What is not true about domain authority? Domain authority does not represent the age of a site. The age of a site and domain authority are 2 credibility rankings that Google looks at, but domain authority does not necessarily represent the age of a site. When building links, you want to focus on follow links. That's really important. If you're targeting no follow links, that doesn't do anything for you. Why is that? Well, a no follow link is basically a signal to Google that the site that is giving that no follow link is basically saying, hey, I'm not actually lending my credibility here. And that tends to be things like user generated content sites, where, for example, on Dribbble is like, I don't want to actually say that all of these links that are being created by our users are actually, these votes coming from our site. I don't want to say that, and therefore they're no follow. The A in SWOT stands for audience. So if you go to the monetization section, there are several different things that you should basically think about. And one of them is audience in weighing the different types of monetization paths. 42, and we're almost done here. I know we're at time. Newsletter sponsorships. Cost per click is best for the advertiser because at the end of the day, that is the closest to the actual purchase or action that they want a user to take when they're advertising. But cost per send is the best for the newsletter because at the end of the day, all they have to do is send it, right? They don't actually have to ensure that anyone actually takes action or that it actually benefits the advertiser. Somewhere in the middle is cost per open, and that's what a ton of newsletters these days actually go with because it kind of is a happy medium between both sides. 43, if you want to use the X cent rule, it's a 5 cent rule, which is around that $50 CPM if you're not sure, and then you adjust accordingly based on demand. 44, if you want to increase your money through sponsorships, you can, and there were several different options here. The answer was all of the above. So you can increase your audience. You can make your audience more valuable by targeting a higher value audience, like something like a CIO. You can include more placements in your newsletter. And I believe there was one more, but you can do all of those things. So there's different levers or levers that you can pull. And then finally, what is typically the biggest driver of price point for information products, it is perceived value. And this is something that's really important and something that I did wrong with this course or book, whatever you want to call it. I initially launched it as a book. Now, people generally are like, I would only pay $10, maybe max $30 for a book. But all of a sudden, they would pay $300 for a course, even if that content is very, very similar, if not the same. So perceived value about a specific type of product matters, and it matters in how people are willing to spend on that particular thing, regardless of the quality of it. The perfect example for this that I'll just end off on is all of our hesitance to spend more than 99 cents or even the 99 cents on an iPhone app. And that is just the perceived value for some reason that we've grown to learn about that particular type of product. Okay, so hopefully you stuck with me during those things or during those answers. I'm going to be sending out after these sessions something that goes over all of these if you ever want to go through the answers, or if you ever want to test yourself again, you're welcome to do that. And then finally, what we'll see here is we've got the results. So these are the results of anyone that participated. And Naren, you came third. Congrats, 28. Again, I was really unsure on how hard or easy this would be. Matt, congrats on getting 30 points. And then Masha, congrats, you got 34 points. That's really good, right? Because there was 45 questions. And again, some of them I think were a little vague or unclear. So Masha, if you're here, which it looks like you are, if you could just please email me at hello@stephsmith.io. I'll enter this here. I'll make sure you get paid, and we can figure that out. And yes, well done. Thank you everyone for participating. Hopefully that was a good mixture between fun, but also you learned or could remember some of the key concepts of the book, and you can take those away. So yes, hopefully you learned from this. Thank you for some of the really nice comments in the chat, and especially some of the familiar faces who have come to all of these review sessions. It was really nice to at least have, you know, a core group joining and participating. So yes, thank you so much, guys, and really lovely to see all of you. If any of you have questions after this or want to reach out, definitely feel free to reach me at that same email that I shared with Masha. And as just a final reminder, there is a general AMA next week, and also a review of the new podcast chapter that's coming. So if you want to join either of those, I did send out an email to everyone. So hopefully you'll find those. In any case, thank you so much to everyone who joined. And again, really nice to see some familiar faces here. So yeah, thank you everyone. And congrats, Masha, on getting so much of the questions correct. All right, happy holidays, everyone. See ya.